Hi Homeworthy, I'm Hayley Vaughn. Welcome to my home in St. Petersburg, Florida.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Hayley Vaughn. I work in product at a B2B software company, and then on the side, a friend and I have recently started doing a little bit of interiors content creation, which has been a fun creative outlet. We're in St. Petersburg, Florida, which is just over the Tampa Bay from Tampa. We're in a 1925 bungalow. Apparently, the story goes that the building department burned down in 1925. So we don't know truly how old the house is, but again, all of the houses in the area that experienced that were just backdated to 1925, so it might actually be a little bit older. My husband and I were living in Charlotte, North Carolina at the time, and we were both working remotely and kind of looking for a change of scenery. We were just engaged at the time. And so we spent a month in Tampa working from an Airbnb, and like shortly into the trip, we ventured over the Tampa Bay and discovered St. Pete, and it was just we just fell in love with it immediately. It was super welcoming, lots of like neighborhoods with historic charm. And so, you know, being people that love homes and interiors and real estate, we stumbled into like a few open houses, and this ended up being one of those that we ended up putting an offer on and getting, and shortly after moved from Charlotte to St. Pete about a month before our wedding. So it was a crazy time. But I think what we really fell in love with is, again, we love historic homes. There's a lot of like great detail that you just can't always find in newer homes, or you have to spend a lot of money to get it. So we have these great 10-foot ceilings. We have really detailed like cove crown molding throughout. There's crystal doorknobs, lots of archways. It really hadn't been updated in about 10 to 15 years, which is something that we were looking for because we really wanted to put like our own touch on it. Welcome to my living room. This is the room that you walk into from the front door, so we don't have any sort of formal entryway. A lot of these older Florida bungalows, the front door just opens straight into the living room. So this is, again, formal and informal. This is where we watch TV, so we do have a TV in our living room. It was just important to me that you didn't necessarily see it when you first walked into the room. But this was a bit of a challenging space to lay out because we have openings on two sides, the fireplace and then the front door, which is like not really centered. So it was a bit of a challenge, and the previous owners had it set up way different, but I ended up trying to kind of create two zones, with this being the living zone around the fireplace using this rug, and then like kind of over here from the front door just as like a path of circulation. So from the front door into the dining room and into our sort of sunroom / my office behind you guys. But yeah, this was a really fun room to decorate. The first thing I guess we did was paint the room. So it used to be more of a bright color, had white trim, and I think one of the things that I wasn't necessarily a fan of originally was this texture on the wall, which was existing. It was before with like more of a shiny sheen paint. It was really sort of in your face. But once we updated the paint color to a flat sheen, I actually really love the texture that this wall finish adds without being kind of too much. And the wall color in here is called White Duck, which I think is a really nice warm white without being too yellow, or sort of too cool tone. And then the fireplace we also painted. So originally this was white, and then the brick was actually a red brick. So we painted both of it a color called Urbane Bronze. I was kind of going for like a charcoal color, but I love the way this turned out because I feel like it's kind of like a warm charcoal, which is sort of indicative by the name, Urbane Bronze, with the brown undertones. And then on the fireplace, I have this really large scale mirror, which was actually a Facebook Marketplace find for $40. I was very excited about it because it's really large. Again, we have 10-foot ceilings with this like very deep cove molding, so I knew the scale had to be right for this piece. These andirons in the fireplace itself were from my parents, so I'm pretty sure we had these in my house growing up, but they definitely did gift them to me, and I just love the way they turned out. It's sort of like the aged brass that we have a lot throughout our house, and then I love the little feet on them as well. But I just have some birch wood in the fireplace because it's not actually currently operational, which we don't really need it to be here in South Florida, so it works out okay. Got a plant here, a palm frond. I love palms, so you'll find that throughout for today. And then moving into the living space, so I have this set of swivel sort of leather and rattan chairs, which are definitely weathered. They have probably seen better days, but I actually love the weathered look and the patina. And I love the leather lattice. These are from a store or a vintage market here in St. Pete called Vintage Marché. So it's the first Saturday of every month, and they just have amazing finds. You'll hear me probably mention them quite a few times on the tour because I've sourced a lot there. This rug is just a natural fiber rug from Nordic Knots, which is one of my favorites. And then our coffee table is kind of like this natural, unfinished, fluted wood in this really organic shape, which I really, really love. And it's sourced from a place in Brooklyn called Forum Shop. And then on the coffee table, I just have some interiors books, of course. This Rosemary Beach book was actually the guest book at our wedding, so it's kind of like their signature book, which is where we got married, and we ended up using it for our guest book. So we have lots of like signatures in here and notes from our guests. So this is a fun like memento to our wedding. Have a little remote box, of course, a candle, and then a shell dish. So like the shell motif is also kind of a common theme throughout the house. You'll notice a brass candlestick as well with the shell motif. So I love that. Over here, we have this painting, which again, I kind of feel like speaks to the sort of Floridian vibe that I really leaned into after moving here from Charlotte, because again, I'm just really inspired by the sort of greater contextual setting of the space. But it has this green bamboo color, the peachy background. I love the frame and the bird. But definitely this green kind of coincidentally, I feel like became sort of a common thread throughout the house. It's the same green from the chairs, and then also the ceiling paint color in our dining room, which we'll see. Over here, I have a mid-century modern sort of hutch where we have some fun pieces on display, but this again was sourced at Vintage Marché here in St. Pete. It's again, such good treasures there. And I love how the dental molding at the top here sort of evokes the same feeling as the dental molding from the fireplace. So sort of coincidentally was able to find continuity there. This bust in the cabinet was a gift from my parents. Have another shell here. Some marble bookends that kind of have like shells cast in them, which I love. And then lastly, in this corner, we have some wicker sort of vessels. This corner was very challenging because like I mentioned, this is kind of like the circulation area of just passing from one room to the next, or like the entry space, if you will. So I tried to put a chair over here at one point, and it just wasn't really working because we often leave our front door open because it opens to a conditioned front porch. And so again, if the front door is open, it's kind of like a dead space and a chair is not super functional. So eventually I ended up finding these vessels, which I love the geometry of them and the sort of natural materiality they bring, as well as like it's a nice place to add some greenery. There definitely have been some quirks in an older home. I feel like in this room specifically, again, the wall texture was challenging for me at first, but I've come to love it. We also have medallions throughout, which were originally, I didn't mention it, but they were originally painted like a different accent color in every single room. So we sort of cleaned that up and painted them the same color as the ceiling. All right, and now I'll take you into my dining room. So welcome to our dining room. This is actually one of the first rooms that we ended up finishing. It also is another room that has really great, again, like sort of detail from the original day of this house. So you'll notice it has the original beadboard and this sort of detailed chair rail molding as well. It also has the deep cove molding on the ceiling and then a very elaborate ceiling medallion as well above the light fixture. So originally this room was like all, again, when we purchased the home and moved in, it was all different colors. Like there was one color on the beadboard, one color that was rather shiny on the above the chair rail, and then the ceiling and trim were white, and then the medallion was like kind of a fruit bowl, so it's rather three-dimensional, and all of the individual like fruits and things were painted a different color. So that was cool, but not necessarily for me. So we again sort of chose a statement color for the ceiling in here. And this is called, I believe it's called Rockwood Blue Green. And we went with a flat finish, again, throughout this room, other than the trim. And I really love the way it turned out. I feel like the green is a nice pop of color without this room feeling like too overwhelming, because again, we're sort of minimalist people, but we like pops of color here and there. So we have a dining room table just from Crate and Barrel. It's walnut, kind of leans into the mid-century vibes. We did a black wishbone chair. I've kind of been holding out for special captain's chairs. Like I've hoped to find something at an antique market or a vintage store, but I still have not. So I might end up just getting a 5th and 6th of the black wishbone chair, but for now, we're working with 4. Over here, we have a little bar cart. My husband loves to make a cocktail, probably a little small for this space, but it was something that I brought with me from a prior apartment, and I do like the sort of deco vibe and the mirrors that reflect light. Above the bar cart, we have 2 column capital prints, and I absolutely love these. I actually picked these up in Charlotte at an antique mall called Sleepy Poet. They are, again, because I studied architecture, I sort of love the like old architectural prints. And then coincidentally, they're on this sort of green mat that pulls in the sort of thread from the ceiling as well as the green in other rooms. So yeah, sort of a nice coincidence of them just working perfectly, and I love the image. So I have some drapes. Kind of did my best to just match the wall color in here, but these are actually from 2 pages. So really budget friendly, but also like custom in a sense. And I think they turned out great. I did a custom French return curtain rod from Passos Robles Ironworks. We also have these cafe shutters, which were original. And I actually do love that. I feel like they kind of speak to the history of the house, and they're also extremely functional because we get the sunlight in, but we can also keep them closed at the bottom and have privacy because we are very close to our neighbor's house. Over here we have our record player. This was a gift to my husband a few years back. Another print from Vintage Marché, and then we just have kind of some like overflow bar and hosting ware in here. And then over on top I have some overflow of our wedding matches. So I loved these. They have little oyster shells, and then they have the Pearl Hotel, which is right across from the green that we got married on. And we have a bunch left over. I'm trying to like give these out as people come over, but yeah. The rug here is just a wool sort of plush rug. I love these under feet, and I also just love the look of them and the simplicity of them. The last piece I guess I'll talk about in here is this piece of art. So we actually got this at auction. There's an auction house here called Burchard Galleries, which I stumbled into. I was actually new to the auction thing, hadn't done any online auctions or any other in-person auctions, but this place had such great stuff. We ended up going for the live auction and trying to bid on a couple of things. Which is very stressful, I might add, and like the adrenaline was pumping. But we didn't get the first piece that we wanted, but we did get this, which was the second. And I just think it's so beautiful. I love all the colors. Again, it kind of speaks to like the pop of color I mentioned. The frame is beautiful, and again, it kind of has like some of the same greens that you see sort of throughout the house. And next I'll take you into my kitchen. So this is the one like full gut renovation we've done to the house. So we've like painted throughout the house and replaced all of our light fixtures and done like little things here and there. But the kitchen we did fully gut. It was very sort of, kind of had like a 90s Sopranos look going on with tile countertops. And I think the cabinets themselves were probably from the 70s. So they had a lot of water damage. So this actually happened sooner than we thought it would, but we're really happy with how it turned out. We ended up keeping the same layout that was here before, mostly for budget purposes and just so that we didn't have to move any electrical or plumbing. But we went with the Fabuwood cabinet, which, and sort of like a Euro cabinet face, which I was trying to kind of go for like the look of an inset cabinet, even though that wasn't quite in budget. Again, I wanted to do something that looked most like that. So that's why we went with this sort of Euro thin face. And we went with a custom color as well. So this is called Bungalow Beige. I learned through this process that there are limited numbers of colors and the manufactured cabinets, and so I didn't necessarily want to do like a full white kitchen. I really wanted like something neutral, but just with a little more color than white, and so we landed on this. I think it turned out really nice. We did unlacquered brass throughout, so all of the hardware as well as the faucet is unlacquered brass, so it will patina over time, and it's definitely already started to here down in this humid environment. And then the countertops are honed black mist granite. So this was another kind of budget-friendly option, which I was kind of going for like soapstone, but we did this granite instead, just for a more budget-friendly option, and it has really nice bronze veining throughout to add some visual interest, and very durable, very again, performance friendly. We don't have to worry about it at all. The backsplash is just a white cement tile actually, so I love the way that the variation in the sizes of the tiles adds some visual interest. Since they're all slightly different, it's brings sort of that organic element back into the space. So we did kind of a statement range. This was definitely we wanted to make a statement with our range over other appliances. So we like how this turned out. It's been great for cooking. Did a custom hood from our cabinet maker. Some floating shelves in the corners where I have on display just some cookbooks. Some candlesticks that we'll pull out when we're hosting. Some sort of overflow cocktail glasses. And yeah, I did get this beautiful honed Calcutta marble pedestal fruit bowl to sort of bring marble into the space. I would have loved to do a marble countertop, but again, this sort of at least brings that materiality into the space. The more sort of just dishware and candlesticks that of course I sourced at Vintage Marche. I have a vintage Ushak rug on the ground, kind of bringing some of that green in that's throughout the space as well. Another piece that I love is this original stained glass transom window up at the top. Again, we love that, love the historic charm that it brings, and the flowers and the bird. Again, I feel like birds are kind of a common theme. And then on the lower window, I just have a custom cafe curtain since we are very close to our neighbors. My favorite room in the home is probably the one we're sitting in, which is our living room. It's kind of like our formal and informal living room. It's also the room that you enter the front door into, but I just really love, again, a lot of the older historic details in this room, like the fireplace behind me as well has just really beautiful dentil molding. I think it just came together really well, so it definitely met kind of the vision that I had for it. And next I'll take you into my primary bedroom. But before we get in there, I did want to point out a couple pieces in this hallway. So this pair of art on the wall is actually dried flowers from our wedding. So my mom and her closest friend ended up taking some flowers from the wedding, pressing them on her kitchen table for months and months. I know she was so ready to have her table back after this, but it was a really sweet gift that they gave us, and of course will be with us forever. And then another cool piece in this hallway is this crazy light fixture. We like to think that it's original, can't be sure, but I think it was originally an oil burning lamp that was converted and hardwired to be an actual light fixture. So we love this piece, and it's going to be staying. Welcome to our primary bedroom. So this is hopefully or we find it to be a very serene space. Again, I feel like it really speaks to kind of my coastal vibe and aesthetic, where oftentimes I feel like you'll see a lot of blues and whites with a coastal theme, but I really like these sort of deeper greens and palm trees and cane. So you'll see a lot of that in here. So the first thing I guess is this moss plush wool rug also from Nordic Knots, which I love. It's really soft underfoot, so it's great to get out of bed and step on that. We have just an upholstered headboard here because it was very important to my husband that the bed was comfortable to sit against. I feel like our last bed was not the best in that regard, so that took a priority in this room. I have this linen duvet that has a small little palm tree embroidery on it. And this is actually from Zara Home, so don't sleep on Zara Home. There's some great finds there. And it's actually very high quality as well. Didn't know I hadn't purchased anything from there, but the quality is great as well. We have some pleated sconces over on either side of the bed, which are just plug in. Unfortunately, we couldn't do we didn't want to have to do anything with the hard wiring, so I was able to find these, which I feel like a plug-in sconce on either side of the bed works really well because you can sort of hide the cord with your bedside tables, so it works out. And then these two cane and bamboo bedside tables were a Facebook Marketplace find, so I got both of them for, I believe, $40, but I love them. I think they fit sort of the vibe and the space in terms of the length here perfectly. We have a couple of vintage sort of beach photos over the bed. These are from a local art shop here called Maestries. But yeah, we love how those turned out. Another thing that's original to the house that I'll point out are the crystal doorknobs, which are kind of throughout. We love this detail. And then also we have inset mirrors in either bedroom on the closet doors, and you can kind of see I don't know, some people might not like it. There's sort of an antique patina from maybe someone washing them with a material that they shouldn't have, but I actually really like the way that it kind of adds some charm and history to the space. Then next in this corner, I have another sort of bird and bamboo Asian-inspired painting that I really love, and I really kind of just think it speaks to kind of where we are in Florida, and again, was the perfect color scheme for this room. I wanted to point out this octagonal mirror over the dresser. So this was a piece that's been with me through quite a few apartments now. I picked it up at an antique mall in Charlotte, same one as the column capitals, but it's called Sleepy Poet, and they have great finds there. I just love the detail, the sort of antique bronze finish, and then a lot of the again, patina from its age. And then palm frond, because I love them. So interiors and home and architecture has always been of great interest to me. So my parents are both really into homes and real estate and antiques. So my mom is kind of the interiors person and my dad is the exteriors person. So he's always been really interested in architecture and she's always been really interested in interior design. So they've definitely set the framework for my interest. And I actually studied architecture in college, but then again, sort of found myself in tech 10 years later. But I think purchasing this home and getting to decorate it with my husband for the last year and a half has really just reignited my passion for architecture and design. And I think specifically interiors is where I've really found my niche that I really enjoy. Welcome to our Florida room / my office / our library. This room kind of serves a lot of purposes. Another one being actually was the reason for us purchasing the sofa, which was kind of the anchor piece for the space. But this is actually a pull-out sofa, so we wanted to have one more space where we could sleep guests if we had more than just one set of guests over. So we kind of played with some texture and some pattern here, which was maybe a little out of our comfort zone, but we knew we were going to have a solid colored neutral couch in the adjacent room, so we wanted to have some contrast and juxtaposition in this room. So yeah, this was the anchor piece. We kind of worked from this sofa. So I chose the wall color, which is called Peignoir by Farrow & Ball, using the background of the sofa color. And we color drenched the room, so we did the walls, trim, ceiling, and the medallion at the light fixture as well. Another piece that we added in here are these bamboo shades. So it feels very cozy. So this room gets a lot of sunlight. So we usually just keep these shades down and it's still relatively bright because they're unlined. But I love how it makes it feel in the evening. And we have this reading lamp because this is a dimmer room in the evening. So if my husband's watching sports or something, I can be in here reading, and the reading light is definitely necessary because it gets a little dim in this room. But yeah, this is a pharmacy lamp from Visual Comfort. We have this Lane coffee table that's very mid-century modern. I actually found this on Facebook Marketplace, and I think it's great. I love how low it is and how long it is. It's very substantial and kind of grounds the room. It has probably, I feel like it's seen a lot of different finishes over its life. So at some point it's on my list to kind of scrape away existing finishes and sort of refinish it and try to bring it back to its probably what it looked like originally, sort of like a more flat walnut finish, but for now it's as is. This is my desk. So like I said, I work out of this room 5 days a week, 8+ hours a day. So it's not super pretty, but it is functional. It's a sit-stand desk. I did try to dress it up a little bit with the chair. So this is an Eames reproduction office chair by Keeks Design, and I've really loved it. It's in the terracotta color, it's leather. It's a super comfortable, functional office chair that I feel like brings kind of an elevated look, of course, because it is a famous chair, or the original was. And then over here we have what's technically called a room divider. We were looking for a bookshelf, and we liked that it was open in the back because we knew it was going to go in this room where there were a lot of windows, so we didn't know if it was going to have to go in front of a window. We wanted to have the light be able to carry through, but this is another piece from Vintage Marché, where I've sourced so much in this house, and we love the mid-century modern, again, style to it. It's very us. But I have this styled with just a family photo, some books, a film camera that my husband gave me a Christmas or two ago, which has been a really fun hobby we've gotten into. And then this book, we also have a lot of shells. So here's another bronze boat dish of shells. So I grew up going to beaches kind of in the panhandle of Florida where there's not a ton of great shells. But since being down here, I've been so amazed at all of the perfectly intact, beautiful shells you can find here. So have had fun collecting these and also making jewelry and things from them. Okay, and then lastly, this is, maybe not lastly, but this is a book from our wedding, lots of wedding memorabilia, but again, I'm not really to have photos all over the house type person, but I did want to have something to kind of commemorate that day. So we have this book from Artifact Uprising for that. And then above this bookshelf, this is a piece of art by a good childhood friend of mine, Anna Marie Babington. She's an artist out of Fairhope, Alabama. Very, very talented. This was a wedding gift from her, and I just love the mermaids. I feel like it speaks to me very much, so she knew what she was doing when she chose this subject. But yeah, it's just really beautiful. And then we have these beautiful French doors that were original, that open from the living space into the Florida room with the crystal doorknob, of course. Welcome to our front porch. So this is actually the first space that you enter the home into, I should say. It's a rather dreary day, as you can see, which is unusual for St. Pete. It's usually very sunny. So you won't necessarily be able to see sort of the views out here, but we look into our neighbor's yard, which has a tropical palm tree with coconut. So it's a very fun view out here. And this is east facing, so we get gorgeous morning sun. We eat a lot of breakfast out here, have a cocktail in the evening. It's just a really fun space, and it actually is conditioned, so we get to spend a lot more time out here than we maybe otherwise would if it was just a screened-in porch. So yeah, we have a table over here. This is where we, like I said, eat dinner, a lot of dinners, eat breakfasts, play games. I'll do some crafts out here. And I have it set, of course, with palm trees, which I love, and some terracotta sort of earth tones. And then over here, we just have 2 cowhide chairs, which, like I said, we'll have our morning coffee out here, or we'll have a cocktail in the evening. And this is really one of our favorite spaces. I think it's my husband's favorite space. We just love, again, being able to bring the outdoors in. And like I said, we get to spend so much more time out here because it is conditioned than we maybe otherwise would. Home to me means somewhere where you feel really comfortable. And then also I think just brings you joy every day. So I think, when I look around our space, I love that it feels so cozy and so us. And I think, again, that's kind of the goal in creating a space and a home.